The car spare parts rip-off.
Absolutely extortion.
From servicing to warranty, sneaky blackmail tactics.
Classic fear-mongering.
How to beat them at their game on Today Tonight.
Spare parts rip-off by our big car makers. They're jacking up prices by up to 1,000% on the same quality parts you can buy for half the cost. And as Yaz Dedovich reports, they'll even resort to blackmailing and scaring their own customers just to protect their lucrative monopoly.
I think they should stick defibrillators in every service department because the price of some of these parts is absolutely extortionate.
The margins that were put on parts were sometimes up to 1,000%.
Genuine parts are just catastrophically expensive.
When wine tour operator Ralph Hadzik had to replace a small hose in his Mitsubishi bus engine, he thought it would be a simple and cheap fix, but
We had to buy the whole unit, and the whole unit is $748.
Ralph believed by buying a genuine part he would get the best quality. As it turned out, all he really needed on the part was an 8cm piece of rubber he could have sourced from a hose maker.
We're looking at this. That is all we needed. This section of hose right here, so it's 3 inches and $15 worth.
The genuine parts price gouging even extends to the hose fittings.
The clamps, well, these are genuine clamps. They're $23 each, but you can buy them at the hardware store for about $250.
Ralph paid $130,000 for his 5-year-old bus. He was astonished when he did the sums on how much it would cost to replace it using the company's spare parts.
So if I were going to rebuild my bus out of spare parts, it'd be over $1 million.
Insurance giant Suncorp was so fed up with spare parts prices that it bought into a parts maker to lower premiums and repair costs. To demonstrate their point, they dissected a range of new vehicles and compared the cost if they were built from new spare parts. They found it would cost almost 6 times more than the purchase price. So if they were to build a $21,000 hatchback using their spare parts pricing, it would cost a staggering $114,000.
This behaviour is philosophically anti-competitive because what it seeks to do is minimise competition in the market and drive profits up for car makers.
Sometimes a car owner purchases parts from non-genuine suppliers and ends up buying cheaper counterfeit parts with poor quality.
Today Tonight auto expert John Cadogan says manufacturers are spending big bucks on advertising campaigns like these, designed to make people think their genuine parts are the only safe option.
This whole genuine parts campaign is absolutely propaganda. In the middle, between genuine and counterfeit, there is absolutely a slot for aftermarket parts built to a high standard, available at a low cost.
They make their money back on these huge markups that they put on their genuine parts.
Stuart Charity from the Australian Automotive Aftermarket Association says car makers have a big secret. Their so-called genuine aftermarket parts they mark up so much are actually made by suppliers who often compete directly against them, selling the exact same part with different branding for much less.
They sell it to the Australian car company, they put a margin on it, they then on-sell them to the dealer, they put a margin on it, and ultimately the car owner pays too much for car parts.
The difference is they'll probably be 30% or 40% or even 50% cheaper than if you buy them with the genuine box.
Around 30,000 parts are used to build a car, and with profit margins on new car sales falling, car makers are cashing in on the branding of genuine parts, like batteries which can be marked up by as much as 300%, headlight globes, brake discs or mufflers.
Some insurance policies allow you to specify genuine parts only, but the discount policies always say they will use aftermarket parts if they can. And they do that for only one reason, which is it's cheaper.
But it isn't just through spare parts that motorists are getting fleeced by manufacturers. It's also through servicing, where they safeguard their monopoly with scare tactics.
A classic fear-mongering campaign from manufacturers is to implicitly threaten your warranty if you go outside the genuine net, but nothing could be further from the truth. The AAAC is very clear on this. As long as you play by the rules, you can use aftermarket parts and independent servicing providers.
Independent repairers like Angelo Rossitano are blocked from accessing service information and special tools by the manufacturers. So he spends $12,000 a year for basic information on various makes and models.
If we didn't have to outlay so much money in all different systems, yes, that would reduce our costs, which then would be passed on to our customers and make life easier for them as well.
The cost to independent repairers of this technology blockout is approaching $4 billion per year.
Some manufacturers will also hold back on updates about faults and recalls, like the serious Japanese airbag problem affecting millions of different model cars worldwide.
Getting the information has become extremely difficult, and as the newer cars are coming along, it's becoming more and more difficult.
You know, just because you've got the data available, it doesn't mean you can fix that vehicle.
Paul Unikov from the Motor Trade Association says car makers are starting to sign up to a voluntary agreement which provides free service information. But Paul also wants independent repairers to go through accreditation training.
I think it certainly takes the risk and it puts the requirement back on the repairer to ensure that they have provided the training.
Paul says the genuine label costs more because car makers only put their name on parts that have gone through rigorous tests.
The market will dictate ultimately what price consumers want to pay for that product, and they'll also dictate where they want to get their vehicle serviced.
Countries like India have already penalised Toyota, Nissan and Ford for unfair trade practices and have ordered car makers to remove any restrictions on parts and information. John Cadogan only wishes the same would happen here.
We get pushed around as consumers in Australia for two reasons, and number one is that regulators are toothless, and number two is that the car industry is very well organised. They have an extremely effective lobby group in Canberra, and they know exactly how to lead our regulators around by the nose.